Hey guys, it's Ross Scott on Space Coach 8. We're going to see what Women of the Galaxy has to say about the title character, or the cover page character, Rey. And she does have quite a long spread in here. So the first one, I really like this style. This very much reminds me of some of the Dr. Aphra animation style as well. And it might have been the same artist who did the Rey and one of the Aphra pictures. I'm not sure, but very, very nice. We see her on Jakku with her salvage goggles. This looks like where she's just been in that crash Star Destroyer. So let's see what it says. Her quote is, "I think I can handle myself. I know how to run without you holding my hand." The central character in the film trilogy begins with The Force Awakens. Rey arrives in the tradition of heroes such as Leia Organa and Padme Amidala, outspoken, independent and self-sufficient, but she is also uniquely important to the saga and to the fans. Rey, a young woman from the dusty Nothing Ever Happens Here planet of Jakku, receives the call to adventure that changes her life and alters the fandom landscape. Few moments in Star Wars are as powerful as Anakin and Luke Skywalker's lightsaber flying out of a snowbank and into Rey's outstretched hands, and I thought that was done so well. The music, how they cut between Kylo and Rey, it was just brilliant, that moment. Reaction to Rey joining the Star Wars galaxy was immediate and passionate. She inspires creative expressions throughout fandom. Art, essays, replicas of her distinctive triple bun hairstyle, and costumes at conventions and fan gatherings everywhere. She's a hero without arrogance, a character without all the answers. Who wouldn't want to be like her? Daisy Ridley was unsure and a little worried about fans would think of Rey. Before The Force Awakens was released, she said, "I realise what this film might be to people. I hope that people will love it. I think they will. I feel like I'm working with my film family. Every day is fun. I haven't had one day where I didn't enjoy it. There are moments when I think how many people love Star Wars, and it's scary trying to fit into that world that people know so well and love so much. It's nerve-wracking thinking about what Rey might represent to these people and whether they'll like her or not." And now we shall see the next image. And that's obviously her in the forest at the end of The Force Awakens. Again, that's just a great image of Rey. Again, the lighting in that whole sequence was great. It really brought out the lightsaber colours in that darkened forest, whether it was Finn and Kylo or Rey and Kylo. It was just marvellous. Rey would go through a hero's journey behind the scenes too. Early stages depicting her working in a used spaceship lot, longing to leave her world behind, unlike Rey in the film, who stays put awaiting the return of her family. Even in initial drafts, Qi'ra is a scavenger with a speeder she makes herself, but little else remains of the original direction. Subsequent drafts of the script shape Qi'ra into Rey, and a hero is born. Rey grows up alone on Jakku, an unforgiving planet that can wring dry those who call it home. Left by her parents as a young girl, Rey doesn't receive much help from anyone. She quickly learns the ins and outs of survival, not just how to search the wreckage from the Battle of Jakku for profitable parts, but also how to protect herself from the dangers of the desert and fellow scavengers. Rey teaches herself how to fight with the staff. She looks at each item she finds from the perspective of possibility, whether turning lenses from a stormtrooper helmet into goggles, or uncovering a fallen AT-AT walker to make it her home. Rey is kind and she's optimistic, even when trapped in a situation that would turn most people cynical and cold, let down and betrayed by others time and time again. She demonstrates this kindness when she lets the lost droid BB-8 follow her home in The Force Awakens, rather than sell him for more food than she's ever seen, and again when she feeds a fearsome Night Watcher worm precious salvage material so it doesn't starve in Forces of Destiny. And most importantly, when she helps Finn, a complete stranger, get away from the First Order following his desertion by taking him off-world, after whacking him with her staff, of course. By trusting Finn and leaving the dust of Jakku behind, Rey opens a door to a life she couldn't have imagined. She's dreamed of it. The Force showed her Luke's island while she slept, but how often do visions become reality? She meets the legendary smuggler Han Solo. She sees a planet with more green than she thought existed. Her wonder is our wonder. We see the galaxy through her earnest eyes, and it's like experiencing it for the first time. This makes Rey's discovery of her Force abilities all the more powerful. And here is another image, this from The Last Jedi, her and Kylo against the guards, the Praetorians. The quote there is, balance and energy, a force inside me, that same force. The force inside of Rey awakens when she first touches the lightsaber that once belonged to the Skywalkers. It calls to her while she's on Takodana. Mas Kanata tries to help Rey process what's happened, but scared of the intensity of the Force vision, Rey runs. She doesn't see herself as anything special, so of course she doesn't immediately embrace her powers. Her abilities awaken powerfully after she's captured by Kylo Ren, and his reaction to her strength emboldens her to test her newfound skills. The resolve we see on Jakku returns as she escapes and then confronts Kylo head-on. Their lightsaber duel on Starkiller Base is unforgettable. Ren is near fatally wounded, but this scavenger from Jakku has never even wielded a lightsaber before, and still she keeps him at bay. At the darkest moment of the battle, she follows Maz's advice and lets the light guide her. She lashes out in defence, not rage. Rey is every child who's held a lightsaber toy in the backyard or playground and dreamed of saving the galaxy. Rey goes on to complete the quest others couldn't. She finds Luke Skywalker on the remote planet of Ahch-To. The Last Jedi shows us he's not a willing teacher, and he travelled to an unfindable island for a reason. A reason that makes sense to Rian Johnson anyway. But Rey doesn't immediately get back into the Millennium Falcon and return to Resistance. The determined spirit that helped her make it through years of solitude on Jakku takes over. She convinces Luke to train her in the ways of the Force by telling him, I need someone to show me my place in all of this. When Rey's power frightens Luke enough to halt their lessons, she doesn't turn to anger or sadness about being rejected. She continues training on her own, and, due to the machinations of Supreme Leader Snoke, she finds herself reconnected with a surprising person, Kylo Ren. They're taken aback by a Force connection, but over time they find common ground. Rey turns to Kylo after her bewildering experience in the Mirror Cave on Ahch-To. Again, Rey maintains an open mind and is willing to put faith in Ben Solo, a man she saw murder his own father. She doesn't forget the horrific act, but she gradually senses his conflict and sees an opening to turn Ben back to the light. And she doesn't let go until he draws a line. And here is the final image from Rey's spread, again from The Last Jedi, where she's moving all of the rocks on crate, so what's left of the Resistance can escape onto the Falcon with her. Kylo tells Rey that her parents were filthy junk traders who didn't want her. The Last Jedi director and writer Rian Johnson described it as the hardest possible thing she could have heard. Rey's been hinging a part of her identity on reconnecting with her family. She has to reassess who she is and do so among the turmoil of the supremacy exploding around her. But she listens to the light side of the Force and commits to it, even after what she's heard about her parents, even after she no longer has a teacher to guide her. She brings hope where it is needed most, to Luke, Leia and the Resistance. Even beyond the trappings of the Star Wars saga, the First Order, the Resistance, the Force, Rey's story is inspiring, familiar and timeless. Just because you come from nothing doesn't mean you're not part of the story. You're not no one because anybody can save the galaxy. Anybody. And that is Rey's spread. We will not have the Mary Sue discussion at this stage, other than to say that I really like Rey's character, and I think certainly The Force Awakens she's a real breath of fresh air. The problem is she can just do things that we saw other characters struggle with through the original trilogy. Luke Skywalker, obviously, I'm thinking of here. Well, so it just comes naturally. It means there's nowhere for her character to progress because she hasn't learned anything. She can just do it. You know, as I've said, I think before, in the old days, that would be a fast route to the dark side, cutting all these corners and, hey, I can just do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. You know, consequences. There has to be consequences. Rey hasn't really suffered. I know she's had that hard life on Jakku, but her character has not suffered in the movies. She hasn't even lost a limb, which I think a lot of people are not happy with. But maybe she will in episode 9. Because for a character to grow, there has to be room for them to grow. If they can always do everything and they always know what to do, there's no room for growth. And that is one of the main problems with the Rey character, which I still really, really like. I think Daisy Ridley is fantastic in that role, but the writing for the character does need to be much, much better. We have to feel like we can empathise rather than her just being awesome at everything, even stuff she's never come across before. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on that. Like I said, I really like Rey's character. I think hers is probably the longest spread, maybe other than Padme's and Leia's. But that isn't a surprise, of course, because she is one of the most important characters in the saga now. But there you go, guys. That is just the Rey spread from Women of the Galaxy. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or suggestion for upcoming topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.